What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Steel City Boys. We're lucky to have you again. Episode 4 kicking off, baby. Let's
Yes,
go.
sir. We're back for get a little different camera angle. We're still working, getting better.
4
every
for
time.
4. We got the headsets on, the mics, journey, baby. I love to see it. A lot happening. Pittsburgh kicking off next week against the Niners.
Yep.
Long anticipated, man. I'm so excited for football. I'm so over baseball, bro.
Yeah, it's really boring sport. But one thing that I appreciated was that Morgan Waller concert where the two chicks were beating each other up in the porta-john.
Oh, my God, yeah. Repping Pittsburgh, baby.
Yep. Fight night.
That's Pittsburgh representing right there, baby. We love to see it. We love to see that. Well, hey, listen, everybody, we're happy to have you back again. I know it's a beautiful day. Fall's right around the corner. Weather's cooling down. Yeah, today's episode, we're really going to be talking to you about, the science behind expensive habits and regular spending and, how you can better financially equip yourself with your financial health to really, just better yourself and not put yourself in a hole, right? So that's kind of what I'm going to get into first is what expensive habits are versus regular habits. So expensive habits constitutes anything that, short-term pleasure like shopping, dining out, getting the clothes, the shoes that you need, your products or your service, whereas regular spending is essentials that you need, like your rent, your utilities, your other expenses, your loans, your car payment. Those are all the stuff that's the regular spending that you need to spend your money on, something that is, feasible for you that you actually need that's going to benefit you rather than just your shoes that you need, your $100, $200 Jordans. Like, what's wrong with some $5 Nikes at Goodwill?
Right. I think you really got to choose and pick your battles. For me, I'm no financial expert, but I do realize, I make X amount of money, and what do I value in my life that I can potentially save in some areas, and what do I want to splurge? If I want to go out with friends, I don't want to be that cheap guy. I like to buy people drinks, have a couple shots, have a good time. And when I'm by myself, shop at Aldi, make sure that I don't eat out a lot, try to save money. That's really a killer in terms of what I see. You go to like Subway now, you get chips, you get a sandwich and a drink. It's like $20.
Yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, like you said, it helps every now and then to go out and, you got to treat yourself because, we work to live, not live to work, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I definitely agree with you on that end of, every now and then, right? It's not like, it can be an everyday thing. I know some people that, are still going out like every other night. Like, I'm like, how? Like, I'm in bed by like 10. One, I got to wake up in the morning. Two, it's like, look, with like the way the economy is nowadays, it's like $3.89 for some gas.
Yeah, absolutely. But that just goes back to our point of, pick and choose the battle. If you want to go out, or say you don't want to go out, if you're somebody who doesn't want to spend, okay, then spend a little more on shoes. Whatever your lifestyle you want, then spend in that or save in other things. It's a give and take, but you can't just splurge. And a lot of people run into like debt, credit card debt and overspending and thinking they have a higher limit than they actually do.
You got to have mindful spending, I think, especially in today's economy, like I mentioned, with how you just said going to Subway and getting a couple things is like $20. It's like every time I leave the house, it's like $100 these days, right? So
Yep.
It's like, I think it's all about, being conscious of your purchases and really evaluating that. The solution to that is, I think, like we just mentioned, like invest your money, save it and invest it. If anybody here, has any tips that they'd like to see in the comments section, we do want to roll forward sometimes with financial advice. But, if anybody would like to learn different resources, I used to be in insurance. I'm no longer active or longer licensed, but I do know a ton of professionals that I can get you hooked up with for some investment strategies and investment goals. So comment, like this video, subscribe, DM me if you'd like to know more about that. Again, I can't legally sell because I'm not licensed currently, but I definitely know some resources. Putting your money, like, I never realized like how effective investments were until I actually started putting my money in some like insurances or some investments. Make your money work for you instead of vice versa. Put it in certain things that you're going to get benefits from rather than just spending $100 on a pair of Jordans.
Right.
I think would be a good solution for all this, what we just mentioned of expensive habits and be mindful.
And that's the thing is, quite a bit about it, and I'm sure a lot of the audience members, I don't know anything about it. They don't teach it in school, and we don't really get an understanding of it in college, high school. Nobody teaches you that things, but it's very beneficial. And I personally, I don't know much about it, but I love to learn, and I think that's a step. Like you said, let your money work for you.
Well, and I'm glad that you actually just mentioned something that I think is not talked about enough. It is not being taught in schools, right? I didn't know about this until, I was graduating college. And, looking back on it, I'm like, wow, this would have been helpful to know because I don't know if I would have went to college, or I would have definitely looked at it differently and where I could put my money in, different vehicles I could, because it's crazy, man. Like, you could have an investment account where you're investing like $100 a month versus like, thousands of dollars for semester at school. It's like, doesn't take a genius in math to figure that one out, right? Of like different vehicles you could put your money into instead of spending it. Because like you said, I mean, this is not taught in school. And no matter what career choice you have, no matter what you want to be in life, I think learning where to put your money and invest in it could benefit everybody. No matter what you do, make your money work for you instead of vice versa.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we all kind of get stuck and we don't realize that those are options. And part of it is people not knowing. Part of it's not being taught, no knowledge, no interest, or maybe it's something out of the realm of understanding, so we don't pursue it. So it's very difficult to kind of learn about it. You have no idea, and we're all very short-term minded people. That's just how our brains work. We're short-term, so we live paycheck to paycheck. You get X amount of dollars. You're just worried about, okay, am I going to pay rent, food? Am I going to go out, concert, this, that? I'm just worried about that paycheck from week to week. And the way the economy is, I understand how people are, so they're probably not even looking in investment ideas. But I just think we don't look at the long term. That's something just human brain.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. I think a lot of misconceptions about like investments too, I think could be, oh man, it's like something I got to spend my money on again. But in the reality, it's like it's an opportunity to put your money into something and have it give you a return rather than just saying, okay, I'm going to go down to the bar and spend like, over $200 or $100 on drinks. That it's like, yeah, it's short-term pleasure. It's going to be good that night, but then the next morning I'm going to be like, I'm feeling like shit. I'm late to my first episode of the podcast.
Hey, whoa. Hey, we're not naming any names here, all right?
I love you, bro. I love you.
Yeah, I love you too. Yeah, that guy will go unnamed, whoever did that.
Yeah, right.
He's got a not that great of a track record so far, but hey, he made it.
We live and learn, though. But the thing is, man, like, even when you did that, you still showed up, still showed up, showed out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it's like, that makes sense of like, do I want to, look for the long-term haul or like the short-term pleasure of it? And that kind of, leads me to my next point of, we're going to get in right now, the whole psychology of spending and this idea of the hedonic treadmill. Are you familiar with that term at all?
No, the only treadmills I know are Planet Fitness.
The right kind of treadmills. That's an important treadmill too, for sure, because you definitely want to keep your body in shape, so I respect that. But no, the hedonic treadmill, and I kind of love this because, my minor is in psychology, my degree that I got, so I'm all about like learning about psychological, factors that drive human behavior. So the idea of the hedonic treadmill is chasing materialistic pleasures of, it's a psychological phenomenon pretty much where people quickly return to their baseline level of happiness, of wanting more. And a lot of times that makes sense. So, let's say, for example, okay, I want to have $100,000 that would make me happy. Okay, you get $100,000, like, yay, I got it. But then all of a sudden you're going to want that next level. We as humans, and I'm guilty of this, we always want that next level, right? We always want more. We always want to grow. That's how we're like evolutionary, you know, I don't even know if I pronounced that right, but like, that's how we're hardwired really
Right.
for our biological traits.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see this. I see this even on a very primal level. One, I love like animal documentaries, watching chimps. They're super greedy. They want. And like you said, nothing's ever enough. You can even see this. We're hardwired from children. I see it with kids all the time. They have 100 toys in front of them. But if one kid has that one toy that kid doesn't have, it's like, mine, mine. And they go whack them, grab the toy. It's like we are just hardwired to be greedy and just constantly want and never satisfied, which is a good thing sometimes, but most of the time, not so great.
Yeah, no, it's like you said, I mean, it's a good and bad thing, right? Because it's always great to want to get to that next level because, like you said, I'm the same way. I'll see somebody with a Corvette or like a Mustang, and I'm like, damn, like I'm riding around in my 2014 Ford Fusion, which like, hey, I got a car. I'm grateful for that. But like you said, I mean, we're naturally going to see something and be like, whoa, like I want that.
Right.
Right. Which is a good thing and a bad thing. But I think being greedy, like you said, I mean, it can really cause you to sometimes make decisions based off just greed, whereas like, okay, yeah, I'm going to spend all this money on this car, but then it's like, I have a $600 car payment of like, okay, for me to just ride around in the newest K5 and stunt. So
Yeah,
definitely.
I think the world has pushed its agenda and things that we should care about a lot, like all these items, clothing, celebrities. And at the end of the day, you realize you're just trying to survive out here. You're just trying to pay bills. You're trying to just have shelter. You're trying to live, have friends, enjoy life. All this other stuff we've just been marketed and told, oh, you need this. You want to have this. And we're kind of stuck in this like echo chamber of just constantly, wherever you see, if you're on your phone, outside, there's marketing everywhere. So it's difficult to fault us for always wanting when these things are being jammed in our face 24/7.
Oh yeah, and the media blows it up constantly of, oh, you got to get the new K5, like check this out, check this out. And it's funny you mentioned, people are trying to survive out here. I worked with somebody who was a really good friend of mine in financial services, and he told me something that really stood out to me years ago. It was that, I don't want to be famous and have the nicest things. I want to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. We'll touch on like sports later, but like obviously I'll use a sports example. I don't know if you saw the new quarterback documentary on Netflix.
No, I heard about it.
Yeah, like Kirk Cousins, he pulls up to practice in like, some like van that he has for him and his family. It's like nothing like fancy. It's like a 2007 used van that he likes to use for his family when they go on like camping trips and stuff. Like he's like I like to mention Kirk Cousins as the NFL dad of the year. Like I respect Kirk Cousins, one, because he's like a pretty good player, and two, he's very humble, very like that goes to show. I mean, he's making more than you and I could probably ever dream of, but he's driving like a car that's like actually like older than our vehicles. So
Right.
It's like that goes to show you. I mean, he lives in a nice home, but he doesn't live in like a luxurious mansion. But he's just comfortable.
Yeah.
Like he's able to easily afford all his stuff. He doesn't have a car payment. He's had that van forever. It's like, hey, gets him from point A to point B, gets him to practice on time. Like,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, and like you said, he's the NFL dad. I really like that. Also, fellow MSUer.
was he MSU?
Yeah,
I did not
he
know
was.
that.
Yeah, he's the god of MSU. Everybody's like, oh, Kirk Cousins, because he's such a good-looking guy, nice dude, God-fearing guy. So he's like the MSU god.
I did not know that. That's
But
cool.
no, at the end of the day, though, we're all just people. So it's like we market these guys at some type of like. Not like a 9 to. At the end of the day, these are just guys with families. The money, it doesn't matter after a while. You hit a certain amount, but you always want more. But we're all just people. We all just need shelter, family, friends, experiences, food. We just need the necessities to live. And that's really, we're all the same.
Right. So I would definitely like on that hedonic treadmill concept. I would just say like my advice on that, little tips we could give you on that. I would say try to, my best advice would be try to definitely be happy with what you have, because you have more than what you think than a lot of people. So if you need some certain upgrades, obviously you got to have certain upgrades. Like I had to get a new Ford because my other one before I had this car was like falling apart and was doing all these repairs to it. And I was like, all the money I'm going to be spending, I may as well just put a down payment on a new car.
Right.
So there's obviously, you got to think of that factor as well. But I would say try not to get too greedy, because, and I know that's like easier said than done, because I'm the same way. I definitely see something, I'm like, oh, I want to work towards getting that, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I would just say be a little happier with what you have. If you need to upgrade eventually, great, but don't be in such a rush to do that. Enjoy your, even if your car's not the nicest, your $200 car payment, it's great versus like a $500 one for a new car. Now, obviously, again, if you need to upgrade because of like safety concerns, or like, you want, if you can make a little extra money bonus and you want to treat yourself, hey, nothing wrong with that. Go crazy. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
On that. Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. I think we all have to be happy with what we have. I think I will give the younger generations a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, considering you and I with student loans and everything. I think it's difficult because there's more pressure on people our age or people even younger with this debt coming out. So you go to school, you graduate. Not only are you like, I want to enjoy life, survive, but you're paying off a ton of loans. So I get there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of rush. But to your point, I think you just need to be satisfied with what you have. Be happy that you have a life. Be happy that you're experiencing all these different kind of things with people. And just be patient. You'll get there. Keep working hard. Be consistent. And just keep healthy habits. Spend what you want to spend on in terms of fun, but also limit those kind of things. You can't always have the next iPhone. You can't always have the new Jordans. You can't always have the next car that comes out. So it's like you got to just be patient, and you got to be a little bit frugal when the time comes.
Yeah, and we hope this advice definitely helps you guys out. I mean, feel free to comment in the section below. Make sure you do like and subscribe if you haven't already. We'd love to hear your feedback. We'd love to hear what you want to hear us talk about in the future episodes as well, because we hope to give these financial tips and wellness advice. Obviously, we're not just a financial show, but really just good life advice, I think, from, what we've experienced and how, because, my God, I've fallen on my face with, careless spending and, other things in life as well. So anything that we can do to provide clarity and understanding and good advice for really just the younger generation, but our generation as well. Hey, like really anybody and everybody who's listening, we hope this helps. So again, if you haven't done so already, like and subscribe and give us a comment on what you want to see. And yeah, I mean, which kind of leads me to my next, we talked about, living below your means and, your consumer behavior. So the brain, and, this is the psychology nerd in me coming out again, right? The brain has a reward system, a complex structures that really responsible for pleasure and reinforcing a lot of this behavior. So that promotes survival and well-being. So I think that like you mentioned, like the short-term spending, that gives you that like a little short-term reward system.
Mm-hmm.
But I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember talking to you about this one book I was reading. I think it was 7 Successful Habits. We were talking about this the other day. But we get into these routines and these habits. So say you are somebody who constantly spends and is in credit card debt. You eventually just become on autopilot where you're not even thinking. You're just constantly doing it. You're just constantly overspending. You're not even thinking about what actions you can take to make your life better. It takes a little bit of awareness. People you got to break down your life. What are my habits? What am I doing? What works? What doesn't? What do I want to achieve? What kind of goals? And we just need to understand that the pressures of society is pushing us one way. We have to overcome. It's a lot, but you got to be self-aware of what you need to do.
Yeah, and that ties perfectly to this point of like the consumer behavior you just talked about. Like you touched on it, marketing. And there's all this like consumer like psychology of like, hey, like advertisement. That actually is true when you walk into a grocery store, right? Think about it. I'm going to the grocery store to buy some milk, But I also see when I walk in there, like, oh, these are on sale for like blah blah blah, $1.99, like this, that, and the other thing. And hey, I can't blame those consumer psychologists. Hey, they have to market their product and make money some way. But I think, yeah, consumer psychology, that definitely influences like behavior, of course.
Oh yeah, I mean, every time I open my phone to look at the news or Snapchat or something, I hear about like Ice Spice. I never even listened to one of her songs, but I can tell you she's got beef with this person. I didn't even ask for this. I didn't want to know who Ice Spice was, but that's the power of marketing and just being like, hey, we're gonna shove this down your throat.
We're probably going to get ads like as soon as we're done with this podcast on our phones, like, oh, buy the new Kia K5 Sport, like leasing starting at blah, blah, blah a month. And that kind of leads me to my next point of like the dopamine rule, right? Like that, I think, dopamine is, a neurotransmitter associated with the pleasure, reward, motivation, reinforcement. When we experience something pleasurable or, engage in stuff that's rewarding, spending money, dopamine is released in that. So, yeah, I get that short-term investment when I'm buying the new Jordans, and I'm like, yo, look at me stunting. Over a year, dude, those Jordans are going to wear out, and then the new Jordans are going to come out, and you're going to be, oh, I want the new ones. So, I mean, I think the dopamine is it's kind of like going to a drug. Like, you have that short little high, but it's going to wear off eventually, and you realize, like, what did I really get out of that?
Yeah, I think too that's why a lot of us, and I know I feel it sometimes, of just like having this sense of burned out or just being tired, or like your brain just being like, oh, I'm just going through so much, you almost want to reset. And I think it's because everything we do, there's so much dopamine hit, phone, TV, streaming services. I mean, you turn on like a football game, there's an advertisement, watch this game, do this. It's a lot for one little chimp brain to kind of understand.
Well, and that's where like the pleasure of the dopamine comes in too, right? Like when you spend that money on something you desire, enjoy, your brain's going to release that dopamine. Your brain's going to have that sensation of pleasure and satisfaction. And really, this is back to that consumer psychology report. It's going to encourage you to keep going back for more and more. And that's when the consumer psychologists are like, yeah, we got him. Like,
Yeah.
like, yo, he's our number one customer. We value you. Like,
Right.
you just value my money, dog.
Oh yeah, we're just a number. You're just trying to exploit me for my dopamine. It's like a weird time in society of, like, back then you would almost have to take people like labor or something out, or like mind. It's almost like we are being mined for our dopamine now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's like, and that's where like the learning and motivation, which is my next point, kind of comes into, when your dopamine is released, that positive reinforcement is like, oh man, like I'm motivated to keep coming back for more and more. So I think this reinforces that to really just, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. It's like, that's what your motivation is like, this is making me feel good, so I'm going to come back to do it for more.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Well, the pursuit of rewards is my next point too. Like, it's not only like the reward, but like the anticipation of it. Like if I buy this, I'm going to look fly, or at least I think I'm going to look fly. That's like, that's another like side point I'll make too, is like people really don't care about you as much as you think. People have their own shit in life that they have to deal with, right? So are they really going to be that concerned that like, oh, Jared Polk just bought the new K5, like let me drop everything I'm doing and like,
yeah,
look at what he's doing.
And that's the one thing too, and I'm going to go back to that 7 Successful Habits book. Is one of the points.
Who's that by again? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Actually, it's like right here.
No, because this is like good. I'm all about the self-development books.
This guy right there. I don't know who that's by. Charles
Charles Duhigg.
Duhigg? Sounds like a cool guy.
Yeah.
But, so, what was I just saying?
My bad. I did cut you off there. But, no, I'm all about the self-development books. That's why I, like, mentioned that. But you were pretty much talking about, like, one of the habits, like...
Oh, yeah. So one of the things is, like, we get so used to the habits, and we just want that dopamine hit. And one of the things in that book is experiments on rats. So one thing is they take a rat, he's in a maze. They open up the maze, and there's chocolate straight ahead. And that rat, at first, the first 10 times, whatever it is, 5, 10, he looks around, he smells, he sees the chocolate, but he's making sure there's no predators, nothing's going to come out, attack him. And then after a while, he goes, eats a little bit of the chocolate, they take him back. They do this over weeks and months. After like 2 weeks, I think in the book, that rat doesn't even think anymore. He just runs to that chocolate because he knows, oh, gate open, chocolate ahead of me, I'm going to get that dopamine hit. And that's kind of like what happens to us. We start to not even think because we internally understand dopamine hit, like shoes. If I'm a sneakerhead, I need the new shoes, dopamine, it makes me feel good. We don't even think about like our addictions at that point.
It's that short-term gain, right? It's like, and then that leads. That's great you mentioned that, because then that leads to my next point of like the long-term impact of how that can, you know, screw you in a way. Because when that dopamine is released initially, you're like, oh, I feel on top of the world. But then as you go on over time, the brain habituates that of like, okay, like you said, that's that chocolate I want. I want to get the new shoes. All right, next week or next paycheck, like, oh, I'm getting that new one, because like all these clothes or all these like material things are making me feel good. But then long term, you look at your bank account, like, holy shit,
Yeah.
I've been spending like over $2,000 a month on like eating out or buying new clothes.
Yeah.
It's that, yeah.
Well, I enjoy. You ever see that show, 600 Pound Life?
Yeah.
Not to like not to make fun of them, but it's the same premise of these people in bad situations or have trauma, and they don't deal with the trauma of their life, but they eat, right? And it's like, okay, you start to eat pizza every fucking day, and then you start to eat cheeseburgers and pop, and those people, you start to just get in these habits and this insatiable routine that all of a sudden you wake up and you're laying in a bed and the camera crew is recording you take a shower on 600 Pound Life.
Yeah, and like, no offense to those people. We hope you get help, and not like trying to bash anybody, but it's like, that's another implication. Like, eating out. I love fast food, dude. Like, I'm all about like Mickey D's breakfast 2 for $5, but it's like that's gonna add up both financially and a topic you led and just talked about is, in that case, your health is essentially at risk. I mean, America is, just the fact of the matter, a very like one of the most obese countries.
Oh yeah.
So
and it's not stopping, and I think that's what's so important about buying your own food and making things, meal prepping. I just did that this last week. I made it a goal to meal prep the entire week and not eat out, and I felt terrific. I mean, I'm not on like cloud nine and can run a marathon, but I'm like, I guess I don't feel amazing, but I don't feel terrible.
right, I don't feel terrible, and I keep money in my pockets.
Yeah.
What's wrong with some, like, I'm not ashamed to admit to you, man, I eat chicken and a bag of frozen veggies, something to put in me, and it's probably way healthier than eating at McDonald's.
No, absolutely. And the cost, I mean, McDonald's is very cheap, but what is the price you're willing to pay for your health? A couple extra dollars to make a chicken sandwich by yourself, or eat at Mickey D's and die 10 years earlier.
Yeah, and I'm kind of backtracking here on like which leads me to my next point too, of the implications for consumer behavior. Consumers will purposely, like, they will look at psychological factors of humans, like, this is cheap, they're going to want this from McDonald's, or something more expensive like a car. We know humans want to show off, so they're pretty much going to try to trigger your emotions, which they do well, man. It works. Like, sometimes for me, I'll see like the newest K5 on the TV and I'll be like, damn, I want that. But realistically, I know that, hey, I'm going to have to work to get there, and like, I'm going to have to make sure I budget that where my income is. That's another thing too, is there's nothing wrong with spending to buy something you want, but you also got to make sure, I think, that your finances are in order and you're making enough to afford all that.
Yeah. No, I agree. And here's a question I have for you, and this is a little bit off topic, but a psychological question. Do you even think, because everything we see is kind of like what we want, do you even think half of the stuff that we want to buy is something we actually are interested, or was that just marketed to us?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think it's a little bit of both, right? Because I think it's definitely marketed by consumers, very effectively, I might add, too. But I think because of the fact that we as humans always want more in that hedonic treadmill, I think it's because we mostly just want more. I think we just, like the rat, we always want to chase the chocolate. Yeah, that's like, we get that dopamine rush. So that would be my answer. I think it's a little bit of both,
Yeah,
honestly.
I agree with you.
And that's, my solutions, I think practically tips, like we mentioned, like regularly review your expenses, right? Monitor your spending to identify patterns of excessive or unnecessary expense. I think that's a pretty, you gotta review it, right? You gotta see like, all right, what are my expenses for the month that I need to spend on before like I have to make sure my lights are on first before I go buy a pair of Jordans.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can do this. It's not, you don't have to get too complex, but I know you could just create an Excel sheet. Screw it. You could write it down on a piece of paper and just break down the percentages. I think it's like 1/3 is what you should spend on rent or mortgage or your housing. And then everything else you can kind of fit. It's like 1/3, and maybe another third is food and gas and utilities, and then that other third you either pocket it or you spend it on other things. But going back to what I said before, I think it's important that will help you get the awareness of where you're going wrong. Break it down on a sheet. I make X amount of money, and where is this, a couple $100s for this, couple $100s for this. Oh, maybe I don't need to do that. I think that will, putting it down on a piece of paper, an Excel sheet, will allow you to understand, here's where I'm going wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And, leading to the next point, that's perfect. Like, tracking your next solution is track your emotional triggers, right? Recognize what emotions that prompt you to spend that money and, find healthier ways to address them. Like, I think really just diving in, like, I actually had a mentor when I was in financial services. This is a pretty good tip I'd like to share too. Before he would spend money, he would have a credit card, right, or a debit card, whatever he would spend his money with. He would put a note around it, like a Post-it note, and wrap it around it. And every time he took that out, it said on there, "Is this going to benefit me in the long term?" So it had him, psychologically, that when you have that think twice mindset of like something that kind of reminds you, I think that's very effective. I've used that before, and it kind of like really makes you question, like, oh shit, do I really need like this $200 shirt?
Yeah.
Or would I rather use that money to like go buy groceries so I can eat for the week?
No, that's a good point, and I've definitely fallen into the trap of,
For sure.
that kind of marketing or that thinking. So that's very helpful. Will this benefit me? Because let's be honest, most people are on their phones or computers, even for their job, looking at articles or just scrolling the internet at work. And there is so much advertisement for this beauty product, and they're so good at manipulating what you've previously looked up. If you look at a WWE shirt once, you're going to get slammed with 700 WWE advertisements.
Oh yeah.
And they're so good at doing that. But like you said, sometimes I fall into that and say, oh, maybe I want that shirt. Maybe I want this little knick-knack gadget, something stupid. And then I get it. I'm like, wow, that was great. And then 2 days later, I'm like, why did I do that?
Like, yeah, now I'm $200 deep.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, one time I spent money. I was on a trip and I bought some clothes in Dallas, Texas. I ended up spending I bought some things in that store, like a new shirt, some shorts, and some other like stuff like toothpaste and deodorant. I spent like almost $100. I'm like, what the hell?
What the hell?
What the hell? Yeah. Right? Like, why the hell am I going to spend? Why did I just do that?
Yeah.
Like, and why is this like so expensive?
Right. I think sometimes you just don't think, and like you said, I also think preparing as well to understand, and I'm guilty of this. I think everybody's guilty. It's easier said than done, but preparing as much as you can for the future will prevent you from doing impulse buys, like meal prepping. If I have a ton of chicken and eggs and I cook it and it's ready to go and I can eat it, I'm less likely to go to McDonald's knowing that all my stuff, I just put all that effort into that refrigerator. I better eat all that because I made it,
Yeah, and you hit the nail right on the head there, and actually leads me to my next point or my solution of recognizing and curbing your expensive habits is the 48-hour rule. And that's delaying non-essential purchases for 2 days to assess whether they're truly necessary or not. I think, like you said, taking that time to really say, okay, is this going to benefit me in the long haul, or is this just going to give me that short-term dopamine pleasure? When you have that 2 days, too, to really think it over, that's when your mind actually is a little more clearer rather than just like the immediate, like, oh, let me get the dopamine rush. Right. So I think that's a good point you just mentioned.
Yeah, we're just chimps. We're looking for that next banana. We're running around like chickens with our head cut off. But if you take a step back, you assess the situation. Maybe you're not that rat running to the chocolate. Maybe you take a different avenue.
Right. Like, it's, mindful spending can really just like contribute to your overall financial well-being. I think if you really take the mindful step of saying, hey, what are my mindful spending and what are my habits, first off, and what are like some habits that are going to benefit me, right? Like, okay, paying my rent, paying my cars, making sure all my expenses are paid first. I think that's so important too, to make sure you're set before you go and have a little fun. Because, yeah, like, we definitely have to have a little fun. I like going out for sure every now and then.
Oh, yeah.
Letting loose, having a couple drinks, as he knows.
Yeah, absolutely.
St. Patty's Day.
Hey, I wasn't going to bring that up. We don't have to go.
Oh, no, please do. Because, yeah, I brought up some of this stuff earlier. So it's like,
we'll let that lie.
You live and learn. Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. You learn from your mistakes.
Side note, do not ever mix beer with jungle juice.
Yeah, that's a recipe.
He warned me. I didn't listen, though.
You learned.
You live and learn, right?
It was kind of like a dad moment. You're just like, well, you learned. I told you, I let you do it, but hey, it's all good. It's all in good fun. It's a good story, and it was a great time.
Yeah, you live and learn, and leading us to our next point here of introduction of budgeting and financial planning. So my tip on there is we'll talk about create a budget, really allocating funds for your necessities, your savings, and discretionary spending. One thing, too, is the 50-30-20 rule. I'm sure people are familiar with that, and if you're not, that's fine, too. But the 50-30-20 rule is pretty much allocating 50% to your needs, right? So your gas, your groceries, your rent, your expenses, your internet, yada, yada. 30% to your wants of the Jordans, the eating out, and other stuff that's going to give you that quick hit, and 20% into savings or investments or debt repayment. I think living by that 50-30-20 rule has really helped me. I think that would help with some budgeting allocations. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. No, I agree, and it just goes back to kind of what we were saying. I think you create a plan and you use that to be your guideline for your plan. Set those percentages up. Set what you make. See if that fits, and kind of follow that and see where you go from there.
It provides discipline too, right? It's really you have a game plan. It's kind of like I relate it to sports as we transition into our next sports segment of, hey, like, if I don't have a game plan, it's going to make it harder to win, right?
Yeah. So. Imagine if the Steelers went out there, scratched their beer guts, not having preseason. Kenny Pickett just says, give me the rock, I'm going to sling it down the field. I mean, we would be a disaster.
Yeah, which... yeah. Well, you don't want to be like a Ben Roethlisberger where, you're eating Permanis sandwiches and beer as your current diet.
I mean, his last 2 years, I love Ben. Thank you for the Super Bowls. You're one of the best Steelers of all time. But those last 2 years, I mean, it was almost like he was waking up, pushing like icy lights off of him, all the beer cans, grabbing a Permani sandwich, eating it. Some of his videos of like smacking the tackle pads away. He handed the ball off to Najee and like fell over. I mean, come on, man. Still love you.
Yeah, I mean, you won us 2 rings, but yeah, that's immediately when I saw Kenny, like his first couple games, like scrambling and running, I was like, damn, like that's an upgrade already that he couldn't do. But yeah, no, I would say that kind of wraps up our financial advice on that. Providing a budget, I think could really help you out allocating the 50-30-20 rule. Again, if anybody would like to know where they could put their money to help their money grow for them, please make sure you like and comment, and direct message me as well. I'd love to point you in the right direction. Again, I know and I've worked with many financial experts who really will change your perspective about where to put your money. Trust me, this is not taught in school, so it never hurts to see where you can grow. So again, if anybody wants to know more about that, please DM me, comment on this. Follow me on Instagram as well, Fearless Mindset 18. We'll put the link in the description as well. It's right there. But yeah, feel free to message me. I'll even put my cell number too. You can call me or text me. Yeah.
Oh boy, you're gonna get a lot of prank calls.
Yeah, for sure. Anything you want to wrap up on the?
No, I just think I think the summary of all of it is taking that leap into understanding and being self-aware of yourself, understanding where you're at, being patient, and just being okay. I think just you don't have to be satisfied. Always strive to be better, but I think we all just have to enjoy life, not worry as much, understand where we're at, and once you understand and you realize people don't care as much as you think they do, you'll be okay. Everything's gonna be all right.
It's funny. I heard a saying one time. It was like, we buy these things for people to impress that we don't even like. Mm-hmm. So it's like that's a good point you brought up. But it's like that's another thing to think about. Is like, yeah. Do you really even like the people you're trying to show off for? So like, they don't care about you either way. So why are you gonna?
I mostly hate everybody. So I tried to get you to spit up your drink there.
That was well played. I almost did. Good thing we got a spit guard for the mic. No, but that wraps it up, and we're gonna get now into our sports, baby.
Yes, sir.
Kickoff next week against the Niners. Couple news for the Steelers, some roster cuts from preseason. Zach Gentry, that was one of the most surprising one, but I think they figured with Connor Hayward, he's able to be a fullback, a serviceable tight end, so they didn't really care for him. Kendrick Green was traded to the Houston Texans for a 2025 sixth-round pick. Kevin Dotson was traded to the LA Rams for a 2024 fourth-round pick and a 2025 fifth-round pick. So we got some draft picks. I like the trades. I do. I'm surprised you were able to get anything for freaking Kendrick Green.
I know. He was, I think, was he your first jackass of the week?
He was our first and foremost, yeah. And, hey, you proved my point there, Kendrick. So, I mean, hey, I'm glad you found a team, buddy. I really do. I'm surprised you did. I'll give you kudos. I guess the Houston Texans need everybody they can get. Same with the Rams. But, no, I like that pick by Omar Khan. I mean, I like that he's planning for the future in a way with all these draft picks. That's going to, I think, you notice, too, with Omar Khan, he's not, just right.
Right. He's a little more aggressive.
He's not
making moves.
Yeah, he's not promoting the ball boy. Right. He's going out and getting people. He's getting people in the free agency market instead of just saying, "Oh, okay, that guy used to clean Ben Roethlisberger cleats. We'll have him be our next quarterback or our next offensive lineman." So I'm really happy there. A couple signings for the Steelers for their practice squad. Signed running back Xander Horvath, running back Quadri Olison, and linebacker Tariq Carpenter to their practice squad. Big news, I guess. I mean, I guess you need some depth. Those practice squad guys make $150K a year just for not playing a single game. Can you have me go out there?
Sign me up.
Right.
I'll take less and have Derrick Henry run me over every practice. If he needs a body to just throw into the stands, I'll do it.
Yeah, if the Steelers need a tackling dummy. So my predictions for the Steelers this week or for the season, I'd say 10-8. They barely sneak in the playoffs and they split the division. What do you think?
Yeah, it's. I think there's a lot of hype. I think, and I don't want to rain on everybody's parade, but I think I've seen this story before. I'm going to say we missed the playoffs. It's 18 games now? Or is it 17?
I think
it's 17.
Yeah, I'm going
to say 9 8, and we either miss the playoffs or we sneak in as the final wild card and we get eliminated.
It's a tough division we're in, man. It's not a cupcake division. Like,
That's
it's
what I
competitive.
mean.
And the AFC conference is so loaded with
Absolutely.
quarterbacks. Like, you got Mahomes, Josh Allen, Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, all these guys. It's, the AFC is definitely more stacked for quarterbacks than the NFC, I think.
I'd agree.
My predictions for each division in football, obviously for the AFC North, I got the Bengals. The AFC South, I got the Jacksonville Jaguars. AFC East, I got the Bills. AFC West, got the Chiefs. The NFC North, I think Kirk Cousins, man, he made a lot of impact last year. I think they're going to win that division.
I got one question for you.
What's that?
The Bills, that's the AFC North?
East.
Yeah. You don't think the Jets are going to have a little bit of a splash with Aaron Rodgers?
I think Rodgers is washed.
Oh.
I think, like you go to the Jets, you're going to try to win a Super Bowl with them. I think he's going to get torn up. That O-line sucks. I think he's going to retire in New York. I don't think they're going to do anything.
Okay.
I mean, I think they'll be competitive. They might win that second spot, but everybody keeps forgetting about Josh Allen and the Bills, dude. It's like they're a juggernaut on that team. And Josh Allen alone, it's like, dude's so reckless. He's like 6'7". He can just jump up and like hurdle over a pile. So
yeah,
I don't think Rodgers is going to do nothing.
All right, we'll see. I'm gonna make a bold prediction. I say the Jets win that division.
Oh, okay. That's going to be competitive for sure. I'd say now the NFC South, which is arguably the worst division in football. You got the Bucks, Saints. Who's at the Panthers and the Falcons.
Gross.
I hate to say it, but I think the Bucks might win it. They have Baker Mayfield now, and I think he's the only quarterback that's the veteran there.
He's not doing any more progressive commercials, so maybe he'll focus on some football now.
He's not doing any progression in his career, period. The NFC East, I got the Philadelphia Eagles for sure. I think Jalen Hurts turned it on last year and really showed me a lot. NFC West, I'm taking the Niners. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Those are my predictions. What do you think for each division?
Yeah, I'd agree with those picks. So you said the Vikings, the Eagles, 49ers. I think the Rams are still rebuilding. And then what was the other one? What's the other division? Oh yeah, no, I agree with all that. I'm gonna just say that I agree with you on each one except the Jets.
Except the Jets, you think Rodgers is going to do something?
I think they're going to win the division.
Oh, we'll see. It's going to be a competitive. Like I said, the AFC is competitive as hell and stacked. A couple news around the league, according to NFL Network Insider. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp is visiting a body specialist in Minnesota on Saturday to further understand his hamstring injury he has and hopefully get the root of the issue. If he's not in for them, man, that's huge loss. He's a great player for them, Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, he's like 67% or something crazy of their overall offense in terms of catching, running. Like he is their entire offense. Without him, it's like it's ridiculous, the numbers.
A couple of fines. Defensive back Trey Tomlinson, according to Tom Pelissero, reported on NFL Network, fined $4,444 for unnecessary roughness. Randall Cobb has been fined $13,889 for unnecessary roughness. And I think that was where the only fines were. I know there's not too much like league sports news right now. Once the sports rolls around, I think we'll definitely have more content for you guys there. But, man, that's crazy, these fines. Look at that, like $4,000, $13,000. It's probably like $5 for them, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
God, if I got a fine for that, I'd cry right now. I'd be like, I can't pay this.
Right.
These pro athletes, man. Makes you wonder. Why are you getting ejected from a preseason game anyway? It's like it doesn't even mean anything.
Yeah, I know. Just walk it off. Emotions are high. I get it.
And to wrap it up for the sports segment, Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. I've never seen an overrated quarterback that the league is in love with so much than Dak Prescott. What has he done? Yeah, he won a playoff game this year against Tom Brady, who was at the end of his career. And that was the first playoff game they won since 1995. I was barely alive yet. Right, but the league has just like gotten on their knees for Dak Prescott. I mean, he has not done anything special. He got crushed by the Niners that one year. He ran the clock out and on that stupid play.
How embarrassing for Zeke, his final play was snapping the football
Oh,
and getting
God.
destroyed.
Big
That
boy
sucks.
Zeke. Oh, God. You should see him at Patriots training camp. He had like a little girth to him. Like, my Lord. Giving Jerome Bettis a run for his money. Hey, love you, Bus. You won us a ring, Ezekiel Elliott. You still haven't. So, just saying. Yeah. But you know what? Dak Prescott and the whole Dallas Cowboys organization, you're overrated. Dak Prescott was saying, according to NFL Network report, that his team is quote-unquote loaded. I'll agree that CeeDee Lamb is probably their best receiver, but I just don't see the hype of Dak Prescott. I think he's overrated. I don't think he's that good. I think the league is so in love with him for some reason. And Dak Prescott, I sincerely mean this when I say,
You suck, you jackass.
all right, and that wraps it up. Hey, look, we're looking forward to some football. I gave you some more news. Hopefully we'll have more around the league for our sports segment once the season starts. Hey, appreciate everybody for joining and tuning in today. If you haven't done so already, again, like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We hope to, give us any tips and feedback you want to see us talk about. And, yeah, don't go crazy with those financial spending. You don't need the new pairs of Jordans. You need food in your fridge, though, and the necessities.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tune in, comment below. We'll talk about anything you guys want to hear. And till the next time.
Take care, everybody. See ya.